Hey everyone, welcome back to Fix and Save, where we show you how to fix your car and save. Today we're going to be showing you how we changed the rear brake pads and rotors on our 2012 Lexus GX 460. As always, this is the process that we use, so please consult your mechanic before doing the same. The tools and parts we need for this video are a jack, a 17 and 21 millimeter socket and drill, a socket wrench, a flathead screwdriver, possibly a hammer, brake cleaner, and of course our rear rotors and brake pads. I'll zoom in so that you guys can see the part numbers. This is for the rotor and this is for the set of 4 brake pads. So first we're going to lift the tire, loosen the nuts, and take them off. So I'm going to go to the back of the car to show you what we need to do next. So I'm going to show you which bolts we need to remove in order to take off that caliper assembly and change the rotor. We need to remove this bolt right here and that bolt back there. If we only needed to change the brake pads, then we would remove these 2 bolts. And just to let you know, we used the 17 millimeter socket to take off those bolts. For us to take off the brake caliper assembly, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to put it between the back side of the rotor and the brake pads. And we're going to pull it. By pulling it, we're going to push the brake caliper cylinder back in its place. That way we can take the entire caliper assembly off and be able to replace the brake pads. And if we go back here, you'll notice that we now have a lot of space between the rotor and the brake pads. So now we're going to remove the caliper and place it on this hook that we've put here. We just don't want the weight of the caliper to pull on the brake line. The rotor wasn't coming off for us, so we did what the manufacturer suggests. You can see on the rotor there are these 2 small holes, one here and one opposite to it, and we put bolts in both of those holes and tightened them, and that popped the rotor right off. If that didn't work, we could also just use a good old-fashioned hammer. Now we're going to use a brake cleaner and spray and clean this as much as possible. After cleaning and inspecting the parking brake shoes, these right here, we can see that they don't need to be replaced yet, so we're good to move on. Before we put the rotor back on, just as an added step, we use brake cleaner on it just to make sure there's no grease on any brake pad surfaces. And now we're going to put the caliper assembly back onto the rotor. And we're going to put the bolts back onto the caliper assembly and tighten those as well. Now that we have the brake caliper assembly back on, we're going to remove the 2 bolts that I showed earlier so that we can replace the brake pads. Now we're going to take the new brake pads and put the hardware back on them, and then install them back into the caliper assembly. This is how it looks after we installed the new brake pads and hardware. Now we've installed the caliper cylinder back into place, and we're going to install the bolts. Now we've put everything back on, and we're going to put the tire back into place. And just a side note, we don't need to tighten the rotor because once we put the tire back into place, it's going to tighten it automatically. And now we're done changing the brake pads and rotor on this side of the rear. The other side of the rear is the exact same process. One thing to keep in mind is before we started driving, we started the engine, pumped the brakes, and took a short drive around our neighborhood just to make sure that the brakes are working fine. Thank you for watching this episode of Fix and Save. We just showed you how to fix your car and save. If you found this video helpful, give us a like and subscribe to the channel for future content, and share this video to anyone who you think might need it. I'll see you guys in the next one.